Last night, I sort of freaked out. After I watched the video, I think I had a second moment of real terror in my life. The first was having it happen to me. The second was seeing it. What was Sarah thinking sending this to me? I've been scared before, actually. Let's be honest, I'm scared most of the time. There's a blind man who sits outside the Rainbow Bar, and when I walk by, he follows my every move with his clouded white eyes. That scares me. At home, I hear creaking stairs at night when it should be quiet, and I call out, but no one answers. That scares me. The thing living under my bed gladly and her shotgun. The woods at night, it all scares me. And it's all like clothes in the dryer that just keep rolling around in my head from one day to the next. But watching the video last night was different. I couldn't even write. I turned on as many lights as I could reach. I turned on the radio and listened to the church channel until a man started talking about spiritual welfare, which sharpened my fear even more. The reason the video terrified me was because it made me remember that night. Since it happened, I've only had a fragment memory, a little bits and pieces, but now I remember something more about that night. I remember what I saw that made me fall. It was there in the camera lens at the end. It was watching me. It was always watching me. I remember waking up in the hospital, what it was like. One moment I was falling, then I saw Sarah's face hovering in the dim light, but I couldn't hear what she was trying to say. It felt like the bones in my legs had exploded. Then I was out. When I opened my eyes, I was actually expected to see the ceiling of my room, and the smell of my dad's coffee brewing downstairs. My head lolled from one side, and then there I sat my parents, glassy-eyed from sleeplessness. I remember asking, "What's going on?" And my mom jumping up and saying, "Ryan, go get the nurse. Paul, go on." My dad smiled at me, opening the door, and ran from the room. I heard a muffled sound of him yelling for the nurse outside the door. Mom leaned over the bed rail and held my hand. "Where are we?" I asked. "You had an accident, but you're awake now. You're awake and you're going to be just fine." "How long have I been asleep?" "The nurse, she'll bring the doctor. He'll want to talk to you. Just stay awake. No more sleeping until your dad comes back with the nurse, okay?" She squeezed my hand pretty hard, as if it might help keeping me from drifting off. At that point, I didn't have any memory of what happened to me. There was little bits and pieces, but nothing concrete. When the doctor came in, I asked if I could use the bathroom, and he told me that if I wanted, I could just go ahead and pee. Certain embarrassment arrangements had been made when I was admitted. "How long have I been asleep?" "According to your chart, you were non-responsive when they found you at 12:45 a.m. So you've been asleep, or more accurately, you've been unconscious state for about 55 hours. So you're saying I've been in a coma?" If you want to be dramatic, then yes, you've been in a coma. You took a pretty good fall. It's amazing you were alive and well enough to tell about that." "Why can't I move my leg?" "Because we've surrounded it with a big Bretha and really a big plaster cast. I'm afraid it will be a while before you can walk on it again." I began to fall asleep in my hospital bed. My mom shook my shoulders and yelled at me, and the smell of old bicycle tires went away. I tried harder to stay awake after that because my head hurt, and having my mom shout in my face made it hurt even more. Eventually they took most of the tubes out of my body, including the one that let me stay in bed to use the bathroom. It took more rides in a wheelchair, and my parents starting to talk to me. Talking with them wasn't nice at first because they were truly happy I was okay. But then I asked about Sarah, and they both took a deep breath and got serious on me. "We don't want you seeing her anymore," Dad said. "But she's my best friend," I protested. Mom took one look at me, and I could tell what she was thinking. "What kind of best friend nearly kills you?" Then you'll have to find new friends, Dad said. We're serious this time, Ryan. If you can't stay away from each other, we'll move. I'll transfer to the city and we'll sell the house. We don't want to, but we will. What are you saying? We're saying you can't see Sarah anymore, said my mother. You're not to contact her. No emails, no phone calls, and she won't be coming around when we go home. Her parents agreed with us. It's the best thing for a while. Best thing for who? You were out in the woods in the middle of the night, breaking into private property, said my dad. He was talking more than usual for once, and I wished he'd shut up. You nearly fell into your death. I think it's fair to say that we're keeping her away from you is the best for everyone, including you. It wasn't her fault this time. It was me. It was my idea. All the more reason to keep you two apart. My dad was on a roll. Both your brains go batty when you're together. There's talk in Skeleton Creek of burning that dredge to the ground. The police spent a whole day down there looking it up tight so no one else can try to get in. That thing is a death trap. After that, my parents went quiet. Neither of them were our talkative folks. No one who lives in Skeleton Creek talks very much. They'd lay down the law about Sarah, and that was that. I had to stay there in the hospital for another 10 days. I couldn't get online, and my parents wouldn't let me use their phone. What would they do if they knew Sarah was contacting me? They'd sell the house. That's what they said they'd do. But there's something in the dredge. She recorded it twice now. I can tell my parents, but who doesn't tell their parents about something like that? I don't know what I'm going to do. My mom just checked on me. The computer was safely off. She had no idea. Or maybe she does. I wonder if my mom is sneakier than she looks. The day after I woke up from the hospital, the police came to my room and asked me a lot of questions. They wanted to know if I was trying to steal anything, who else was involved, why I'd done it. Did I remember any details about what happened? I didn't tell them anything I didn't already know or couldn't figure out on their own. I went to the dredge, I fell, I got serious concussion and shattered my leg. What else was I going to say? That I was looking for a phantom that might have found one? Had strong feelings if I'd said anything like that, they'd move me out of the hospital and into the psych ward. As it turned out, my mental health was the very reason why they kept me for so many days. I could have gone home a week earlier, but there was a psychiatrist who kept stopping by. My dad was back at work, but my mom was still hanging around. She left the room whenever the psychiatrist came in. The psychiatrist, was pretty, in a button-down sort of way. She had red hair and glasses and a notepad. She asked me if I'd been taking any drugs or drinking. She asked what I did with my free time and about Sarah. She wondered if she could read some of my stories, and I politely declined. I didn't want her digging around in my stuff. I was pretty sure it wouldn't look good if she found my paranoid rantings about Skeleton Creek. When they finally let me go home, I had the distinct feeling I'd barely passed some sort of emotional exam they'd run me through. I felt a little like standardized testing at school, like I'd sort of passed, but not really. And anyways, I'd never know for sure how I did because they wouldn't tell me. It's an empty feeling. Okay, I know I'm avoiding something. I'm writing quickly, but I'm also dodging what I really should be writing about. Now that I'm back to the present, I can't avoid it any longer. If I get down on it on paper, it makes it real. But maybe if I write it down, I'll fear it less. The strategy often works for me when I'm scared. Writing the things I'm scared of, especially if I turn them into a story, makes them feel like I've been collected to a page and allowed myself to worry less about them in real life. So here goes. There was a presence upstairs with me in the dredge before I walked in front of Sarah's camera lens. It examined the rusted gears, trying to imagine how they could possibly spring to life. The rust came off on my fingers. Days later, Mom would ask me about the orange marks on my pants where I'd wiped the rust off and wouldn't have an answer for her. I guess I have one now. Just as I wiped my fingers, I turned towards the darkened path of boards and led away from the gears where old George Bush had worked. There was a long, wide belt that ran into the back, and sitting on the belt was a hand. It was attached to an arm, and an arm attached to a body, and the body was moving towards me. There was a faint light all around the body as it moved closer to me. I could see it now. I'm seeing it. It was silhouetted, all in black, so I couldn't make out its face. But the body was large. Whatever it was big and slow, and stepped forward, steadying itself on the wide belt as it came, as it dragged the other leg behind. I remembered how I realized these things all at once. The first was that I couldn't speak. I didn't know if it was some force of darkness that constricted my throat, or if I simply pure terror, but either way, the best I could do was keep breathing. Even that, now I recall, became a great effort. The second thing is that one of the worst than the first was that I found myself trapped. I was backing up against the wooden rail behind the gears, which was in a corner section of the dredge that looked over the bottom level. The thing that was after me had me concerned. And the last realization I had, worse than the first two put together, was that all my terrible nightmares had finally come true. In the back of my mind, there was always had been this one important fact. None of the monsters I'd ever imagined over the years had ever really come to get me. But now I saw that it was true. There really was monsters, and it really was going to scare me to death. When it came close enough to touch me, I saw the shadow of its lips move. It spoke to me from beneath the wide brim of the workman's hat. Number 42 is mine. Stay away from the place. I'm watching you. And then, all at once, my own voice returned. I screamed. I backed up. The old wooden rail fell away, and I remember now looking up as I fell, seeing that whoever had stood over me was gone. It had vanished, or it had been there at all. Sarah's voice on the lake, walking past, dragging the other behind it, makes me sure than ever that it was the thing I saw last night was real. I can't tell anyone but Sarah, or they'll put me in the loony bin. I felt like people were watching me before the accident, but now it's much worse. My parents are watching me. I'm certain they'll have everyone else in town watching me. Friday, Henry will arrive and he'll be watching. Gladys with her shotgun will be watching me. The raven is watching at my window. And the thing at the dredge, it has to be watching, or maybe it's coming to get me. My leg feels worse tonight. I think it's the stress. There's a deep pain working its way up my back. Besides going to the bathroom, I haven't gotten out of bed all day. But I've calmed down. Writing everything out helped. It seems more like a story now. It feels better. I'm finding that dull. Lingering pain is 10 times worse when it's accompanied by dull, lingering boredom. If not for my laptop, I'm pretty sure my parents would have already found me dead from the hopeless case of endless monotony. Can you imagine it? Our little Ryan has died of boredom. We should have looked in on him more, poor thing. So my laptop rests nicely on the big Bertha. My mom says that the psychiatrist gave her some software that secretly tracks my browser history, emails, IMs, everything. It's nice that my mom told me it because the software isn't very hard to disable. Adults in general take a lot of comfort in these tools, but a 15-year-old who can get around a parental control on a computer is probably also having trouble tying his shoes. It's just not that hard. Still, timing is important. I can't be searching for weird stuff or sending emails to Sarah without having at least a few minutes covered of my tracks. It takes time to erase what I've done. It's too late if I've just sent an email and I hear my mom walking up the stairs. Not that I've sent Sarah any emails, I still don't know what to say. It's hard, maybe too hard. To kill the boredom, I've been searching online for information about the dredge. Sarah and I have looked before and found almost nothing of interest. We searched for archive stories, blogs by people living in the town, information about the crossbones, the Skeleton Creek Irregular, and lots more. In every case, we discovered what it feels like teeny shards or fragments of information. Just enough to keep us going, but nothing really earth-shattering. I tried all angles again today, with the same meager results. After 3 hours of dead ends, I looked back through the notes, and my eyelids slit on the name and the company that had owned the dredge. New York Gold and Silver. I'd searched that term before, but not very aggressively. I went looking for them again, this time with more tenacity. The New York Gold and Silver had been out of business for over 20 years, but one thing about the bankruptcy I found is that all your records are open for viewing. I found a public file of the company's records in this section of the City of New York Legal Archives. Within the files, the discovery of the file marked New York Gold and Silver AM Mines, 80 to 85. I knew New York's Gold and Silver stood for New York Gold and Silver. When I clicked on the file, I saw the AM Mines stood for Annual Meeting Minutes, and the actual 80 to 85 meant 1980 to 1985. The category of this document was boring, would be a way too kind. It was 127 pages of pure, undistilled drudgery. It skimmed the first 30 pages of PE ratios, cost-benefits analysis, plant closures, equality to debt ratios, subprime holdings, and lots of other painfully tedious details of a once prosperous company. It wasn't until I was half asleep on page 31 that I realized I could search for terms of interest rather than read every single word. That's when I found something on page 81, something else on the page that made me nervous. I printed it out, and I'm going to tape it here. New York Gold and Silver AM Mines, paragraph 3, page 81. The number 42 asset holding the Skeleton Creek Oregon encounter is a series of break-ins during the period of 1912 to 1981, mentioned here due to injuries and subsequent lawsuits brought by local resident Mark Henderson. The claimant assured that he was attacked while searching the number 42 dredge on the night of September 12, 1981, substituting injuries to his head and neck, including a major concussion. Lawsuits settled out of court on November 14, 1981. Legal departments cited private property status and earlier low six-figure settlement. No information from local authorities is available on a possible suspect of an attack, or if such suspect exists, number 42 asset has been moved, adequately secured. Consider demolish or removal. New York Gold and Silver Mines, paragraph 1, page 111. The number 42 asset holding in Skeleton Creek, Oregon, was entered by a private citizen during the period ending in December of 1984. 3 juveniles claimed that they visited the dredge repeatedly between June of 1984 and September of 1984. Court files indicate breaking and entering, destruction of property, theft of tools, vandalism. One of the 3 juveniles, Jody Carblitz, claimed that the 3 were not told to return by someone they heard but they couldn't see. Legal department strongly advised removal or destruction of asset number 42. Approved demolish of the asset number 42 scheduled for April 11th of 1985. In the spring of 1985, New York Gold and Silver was served with environmental lawsuits from Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho. I guess they were too busy fending off enemies to take action about their agreement to demolish number 42 by June of 1985. The company dissolved in a sea of debt and legal disputes, thinking the dredge in Skeleton Creek were forgotten by lawyers and moved on to higher profile cases. There were no money to be made in suing a dead company. It was almost 9 o'clock now. Mom and Dad will be in to say goodnight and check on me. They'll want to check my computer. I know they have to. Sarah, this is going to be really quick. I have to cover my tracks before my mom checks in. I did something digging and found the minutes from the New York Gold and Silver meetings in 1980s. I'm going to copy the paragraphs I found. See below. They were not the first ones to see something weird at the dredge. Every time someone gets close, they get hurt or scared off. Don't go back there. Let's wait until my parents send me back to school, so we can talk without having to be so secretive. That's what, maybe a month? We can figure things out when we can't stop us from seeing each other in the halls. Another thing, New York Gold and Silver called the dredge number 42 asset. The night when you recorded that accident, I heard something. It was a warning. The same as those other kids must have gotten. Number 42 is mine. Stay away from this place. I'm watching you. I think I saw him. I think I saw old Joe Bush. Either that or I'm going crazy. God, I wish I had written this as a sun going down. Write me back and let me know you're okay. But don't do it until tomorrow morning. They'll read it and delete. Don't do anything stupid. Ryan. P.S. Henry arrives Friday. Look out for him. I pressed the text from the meeting notes under my name and printed out the email, which is why it's included above. I hope Sarah finds my email before my parents do. One thing I hate about writing in a digital age is that everything disappears eventually. It's like writing a letter that evaporates into air as you read it, which is why I keep copies. Papers feel permanent. Time to clean up my mess before my parents come up the stairs. Mom gave me more painkillers last night. The kind where they warn you not to operate heavy equipment after taking them and you get really drowsy. I fell asleep reading the To a God Unknown. Steinbeck could be creepy when he wanted to be. Like when Joseph Wayne lives all alone in his black rock and listening to the sounds of the deep night until it drives him crazy. I need to start reading different books. Maybe I'll try a romance novel or a minor about someone who enjoyed really happy life. The big news. Sarah just sent me an email, which I have to read, print, and delete. Ryan, I'm glad you wrote me. I was thinking maybe you won't. I would have been okay with that. It seems like we're doing a better detective work apart than we ever did together. You're not the only one making progress. I also found something, and I'll send you a video and a password tomorrow morning. Delete the password after you've gotten them. We need to keep all this secure when no one can access. You're not writing any of this down, are you? Your parents might read this stuff when you're sleeping. That's exactly the kind of things parents do when they think their son is up to something. Just try not to write things down all the time, okay? I'm listening to audio tracks and videos again. The camera didn't pick up a voice that night. It must have been so quiet, only you could hear it. I heard the tapping, makes no sense, but the voice, the number 42 reference, it means that we're dealing with is somehow connected to New York Gold and Silver. It's chilling, don't you think? I mean chilling in a good way. Something really important is going on and we're going to figure it out. Whatever caused you to fall, the spirits and phantoms or whatever it is, we are going to get to the bottom of it. If it really is a phantom, a real ghost, what are you going to do? I have more evidence, a tape, and no one is going to believe us. The stuff I sent you about the company from New York, I'm worried about. The other people were trying to get money or thrills. What they're doing is different. We're serious. We're investigators. We're being careful and quiet. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Oh, and I asked Evil Eye outside the bar about Mark Henderson, the guy who sued for money. He's long gone. He left Skeleton Creek right after they gave him the money. Figures. The kids weren't named, so I think that's a dead end. I guess we could ask Shotgun Gladdy. She makes me nervous. Check back early tomorrow morning around 5:30 a.m. before your parents wake up. Make sure to get rid of this stuff. My parents put something on my computer that monitors my activity. I disabled it. Did you check your computer? Some new stuff is hard to get around. How's your leg? Don't write things down. XO Sarah. P.S. The Fall Wilderness Rangers arrived last night. He's here from Miscellanea. Probably until everything is snowed in. I might interview him like the ones before. I'm not sure. I never asked Sarah to stop making movies. She really shouldn't expect me to stop writing. She knows I can't stop. But she makes a good point. When my parents are sneaking around in here after I'm asleep, looking at my journals, I need to make sure they don't find them. I've been putting this one between my mattress and the headboard, so I can pull it out and write it whenever I want to. I think I'd catch them if they tried to take it while I sleep, wouldn't I? Oh man, this reminds me of the Telltale Heart. Only 6 pages, but every one of them serious, spine-chilling. I can imagine my dad quietly entering my room in the dark. He's moving so slowly it takes him an hour to get to my bed, just like the madman in the story. I hear something and I sit up in the pitch black and I'm afraid to turn on the lights, so I don't see him standing there. I sit upright for a long time and I know someone is in my room even though I can't see him. I'm terrified. And then, bang, he takes my journal and escapes. Perfect, now I have one more thing to worry about tonight. Investigating is often how Sarah gets herself and me into trouble. So I'm worried that she used the words in her email that has blind confidence that she gets something, like she's wearing glasses that only let her see 2 feet in front of her own face. Nothing to the side or the back or way out front. Just those precious 2 feet telling her to charge ahead. I wonder what she's sending me. It's unbearable having to wait. Last night, after dinner, my parents moved me out to the porch so I could get some fresh air. It's getting chilly in the early evening already. But it's like that about living in the mountains. The clean air is even crisper when it's chilled. I was exhausted when I finally got to my room, and I fell right asleep. No doubt the fresh air helped. I got the video and the link from Sarah. Ryan, don't write this down and make sure you delete it. And check how the tracks. This is so freaky. We need to talk about this. How can we get around to your parents? I'm interviewing the new park ranger with my hidden camera today. Something's not right about him. I saw him in the mart and he wouldn't make eye contact with me. Can't put a finger on it. He definitely's off. Like he's trying to hide something. I don't think he knows about what happened at the dredge. Or maybe he does. On the Forest Service land. Maybe someone told him. Email me after you watch it. My parents are in the house. Gotta go.